Hey guys, I'm a slow start tonight because I'm real close to getting the hiccups. And sneeze. I'm about to sneeze and hiccup. All right, at the same time. My apologies, guys. But hey, welcome to my Friday night live stream here, Legally on America. I'm of course Paul Glasgow, and let me log in here and get so I can see you guys as you hear the feedback there. Oh, my system crashed. I'll let you guys trickle into the room as I pull this up on my iPad here. Richard Partella, how's it going, man? Grant Jones, all in the house. Good to see you guys, and I know everybody else is going to come rolling in here in a second. How can you guys hear me? Is the audio okay? Got a little bit different setup here tonight, a little bit different than normal. I'm doing a lot of work here in the studio, in the gun room, and trying to move some things around and make it a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more user friendly. I don't know if you can see, yeah, you can't see on this wall right here, but I'm taking, notice a lot of the blank space in between here. This is going to sound like bragging, but I'm not. I've got more guns than I have wall space right now. So I'm trying to tighten up a lot of these gaps in here. If you'll notice, I moved these brackets down so there's not a whole lot of space in between. Pretty much put these guns as close together as I could. This one here is going to come down a little more, and then further up they'll come down, so I'll be able to fit at least one more up top. The same goes for some of these other walls. Just trying to maximize usage of my space here because it's getting a little bit tight. And I want to put some more panels up in here from Gallo Technologies. Again, big thanks to those guys for all the help they give me. In fact, I guess you can't see my magnet that I made for those guys since they are such a big help. I would like to make sure they get some love here. There we go. So now you can see it. Excuse me. I was waiting on that before I really got started. It looks like I'm going to avoid the hiccups after all. So there was the sneeze. Let me give you guys some shout outs real quick. I appreciate you guys showing up with me on a Friday night. What's up, Nick? S2 Strategic Defense. Let's see. Damoose 33. Again, I said Richard. Thank you for being here. G23. Troy Tucker. Jimmy Kimmel. Wow. Thanks, man. T. Wilkins, the Tin Can Gardener, Casey Dude, I guess that's Maul Kelly too, Matthew Smith, Alaska One Andy, Eric Davis, Country Boy 2006, Paul Meinke. Guys, thanks for joining me. I actually had a pretty interesting afternoon today. Oh, I sneeze. For you guys that aren't from Louisiana, I ate boiled crawfish tonight. So the seasoning in my head, on my hands, I've rubbed my eyes already and gotten seasoning in my eyes. You would swear I wasn't born and raised here in South Louisiana, but yeah, seasoning kind of got me today. A couple of the first bites hit me pretty good, but in a good way, no, but I had a good afternoon. I actually interviewed Louisiana State Representative Danny McCormack. You guys will see the video, if not later tonight, probably tomorrow. Danny McCormack is a freshman state representative here in the state of Louisiana. He's up in the north west part of the state, actually literally the northwest corner of Louisiana, way up there at the top. We call them Yankees down here in South Louisiana, even though they are from Louisiana because they're so far north. But he's actually he's doing some pretty cool work right now. He's set up and already put up the first ever that I know of constitutional carry bill, HR 72, I believe it's going to be called. House bill. I'm sorry, HB 72. And it's pretty interesting. It's very short and sweet, very much to the point. If you can see that, there's a better part of 2/3 of a page. And it's essentially saying that you do not need a concealed carry permit in order to carry a firearm in the state of Louisiana, concealed, open, whatever. Now, we already have open carry. That's legal here in the state. And of course, we have concealed carry with a permit. Open carry, you don't need a permit. Concealed carry, you do. He's trying to pass constitutional law where you don't need a permit of any kind and no fees to be paid for any of this in order to carry a firearm on you, concealed or not. I love it. I had a good talk with him today, good interview. Again, you guys will see that here shortly. The man sounds like he's on the right track. The problem I see, he's a freshman state representative, and the problem I always see with people who are new into politics is that they haven't been corrupted yet. Because I have a very low opinion of anybody in politics, unfortunately. And usually at the local level, it's not an issue. At the state level, it's not a really big issue. However, whenever those people start having delusions of grandeur at the state level, thinking, wow, I could really be rich at the federal level and make a lot of money. Once they move on to governorship and the federal level of senators and representatives, they're all corrupt. I'm sorry, they are all corrupt. Every one of them. They go in there broke, they come out rich. So that's the problem I see with somebody like Danny. I think Danny's heart is in the right place now. He does sound like a true patriot. And I'm excited for the things he might do in the short period of time before he actually gets corrupted. Let's hope he doesn't get corrupted. And I say that in a pessimistic way about him being corrupted because I've seen it so often. I've seen a lot of people that I thought were genuinely good people who made their way into politics and just got corrupted so quickly. They have the opportunity to do pretty much anything they want and never get arrested. They break laws all the time and they never get thrown in jail. They get slaps on the wrist. They get a newspaper headline written about them, but they never go to jail, serve any time, or do any real penance for what they do. So my thing is, a guy like Danny would be a true ally of us pro-Second Amendment folks if he stays the course. You know, that's the problem. At what point does somebody come along and bring them a sack of money and offer them something that, or worse, trick them into doing something that they really didn't want to do? I don't know, and I'm just using this as an example, maybe get them a hooker and get them on a night when they're drinking, and all of a sudden you have compromising photos and whatever, and you blackmail them. We know it happens all the time. Now, obviously, moral to that story is don't get drunk around strangers and certainly don't get hooked up with a hooker. My point is, that's the kind of crazy stuff that happens, and it's not by accident. All these things are planned out. So unfortunately, I have low opinions of politicians. Let's hope that a guy like Danny can again stay the course and remain an ally for us and not get corrupted. I also feel like the older you are when you get into politics, the less chance you have of being corrupted. A younger person, they have longer to go. They start thinking about their families and their kids, their grandkids, potential grandkids down the road. And it's easy to corrupt them because they can, in their own minds, justify the corruption by saying, I'm doing it for my family. So unfortunately, that happens so often. That's how you get the Joe Bidens who have been in office for 40 years off the government tit. You know, so unfortunately, we do see a lot of that. A guy like Danny's not an old man, but Danny's probably older than me, and I'm not a young man by any stretch. So there's possibility Danny can actually be the guy that stays the course for us for gun rights. So high hopes for Danny. And there's some other good politicians. There's another freshman senator here in South Louisiana where I am. He's actually my state representative, Philip Tarver. And the man was in the car business, and one of the only guys I would buy a car from for the last 20 years because he's the only guy that didn't, I feel like, was screwing me every single time I'd buy a car from him. He owned a Toyota dealership. He still owns a Toyota dealership down here, but he's a freshman representative now. So I've got high hopes for him also. He does not strike me as the kind of person that would be corrupted. He is an older man. I truly feel like at this point he's trying to do good things for the state. So let's hope these guys stay at the state level, because to me, at the state level, I think you're less likely to be corrupted. Certainly not giving everybody at the state level a pass, because I know there's plenty of corrupt people, especially in Louisiana. I just saw a poll here yesterday of the most corrupt states in the United States, Washington, D.C. being a district, but still being considered similar to a state in terms of rights and whatnot. Washington, D.C. was the most corrupt, with Louisiana being the second most corrupt in terms of politics. That means Louisiana is more corrupt than the state of Illinois, New Jersey, California, New York. That's some really corrupt states, and Louisiana is more corrupt than that. So that's why I guess you guys who might not be in Louisiana or outside it might wonder why I have such low opinions of politicians. It's because we live amongst a bunch of snakes, and it's been like that for many, many years here in the state of Louisiana. Huey P. Long, if you guys will remember the history there, I don't know if his name is synonymous with Louisiana outside of the state, but locally, of course, we know who he is. Governor Edwin Edwards was extremely corrupt governor of ours that made his way into prison. He was so corrupt. So, nevertheless, guy like Danny, I do have high hopes, but low expectations, just to be on the safe side. Again, I will share that with you guys. He has the vision that it seems to me like someone that we would want on our side because he understands the Constitution. So many times I talk to people in politics who fancy themselves as Second Amendment advocates and supporters, and they honestly don't understand the Constitution. They really are just taking on the Second Amendment as something that they're championing because they feel like it's a way to get votes from us. And obviously it is if they support it. The problem is many times they haven't educated themselves on the actual Constitution because they're not true, staunch Second Amendment supporters and constitutionalists. So in many cases, you feel like you're educating them as you go, which is still great. As long as they're on our side, I'm great with that. And if I have to take it upon myself to help educate somebody, I'm happy to do it. I'm very happy to do it. Just you have to recognize that early on because you don't want them making missteps along the way and getting hoodwinked into passing on wrong information when they try to put forth bills or vote for or against bills. Let's see. What else did I have that I wanted to go? Just to give you a quick update. Those of you who have been watching my live streams or my show for the last at least a year, you'll remember, speaking of Louisiana, we have a a state representative down in Chalmette, Louisiana. That's down in the New Orleans area. Specifically, it's in New Orleans. It just Chalmette happens to be the name of his district. Gary Carter. Gary Carter is he's definitely one that is leaning towards wanting to be a corrupt politician. A lot of times you can spot these guys a mile away whenever they take on the shape of the other wacko anti-gun people at the federal level. When they start saying the same things that those people say, the corrupt ones in D.C., you know that this is a guy who fancies himself as a career politician, and you know that that's his goal, is to be a career politician. Let me tell you why. Gary Carter has been putting forth a red flag gun law bill that is a carbon copy of every other one that you've read out there. It's a plagiarized version. It's not his version. He simply took it, copied, pasted it, put it in his own bill and said, here's my bill. Here's my bill. So it's somebody else's bill that he ripped off, but it's word for word everything you've ever read that's bad about a red flag gun law bill being proposed here in the state of Louisiana. Now, last year when he put this thing up, and I think that last year was his second or third year in a row putting it up, it gets shot down because we have more pro-Second Amendment state representatives, quite a few more actually, than we do Democrat anti-gun ones. So last year I reached out to him before his bill got voted down, and I contacted his office, and I told him why I was contacting him. I sent him several emails. I called and spoke to people, and I told them that I wanted to speak to Gary, and I wanted to find out why he thought red flag gun laws were a good idea. Not the canned, they're going to save people's lives response. I'm not looking for the bumper sticker or the t-shirt. That's not what I'm looking for. I did not want, don't send me your standard form letter that you send out to everybody else who asks about a red flag gun law bill. That's not what I'm looking for. I wanted him to tell me in his own words why he felt a red flag gun law bill would be effective. Because for one, I'm curious, because I can't think of anybody that has a rational mind who would think any bill where your neighbor could call and rat you out for nothing that you did, but because they don't like you because you sprayed grass clippings onto their lawn today, could call and say, Gary threatened to kill me with his gun. The police kick his door in the middle of the night, take his guns, shoot his dog, possibly shoot him because he's trying to defend his family because he doesn't know why somebody's kicking his door in at 2 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, I want to talk to him and ask him that. I'm just so curious how a rational person sees that as a good idea. How you're not inviting potential death and casualties along the way. Well, of course, at first, his office, I guess because they thought he was going to get popular and get famous because he'd be on a television show, because we are on Fox 29 down here in South Louisiana, they wanted to talk to me. But then when they realized what I want to talk to him about, they didn't want to have anything to do with me. I actually proposed to him to try to make it fair, because obviously this is my forum here. So I have my following that, would kind of take my side, if you will. So what I offered to him, only if we could live stream, and he could take his live stream and put it wherever he wanted, and I'd take my live stream and put it wherever I wanted. But I offered to him that I would meet him down in Chalmette, Louisiana, at a place of his own choosing. I don't care if it's in his own living room at his house. I don't care if it's at the local gym, right in the middle of his voting backyard. I didn't care where it was. I said, you pick the place and I will show up. And I'll show up with my camera. You show up with your camera. We'll sit down on a stage, just you, just me, and we will answer questions from the audience. I will take any question from anybody in your audience and I will answer it in terms of a red flag gun law. And I will explain why they're so dangerous, why they're unconstitutional, and why they're bad for any community. I don't care what the community is. I don't care what the racial makeup is. I don't care what the financial background is, how rich, how poor the area is. There is no area safe from potential unsolicited murders with red flag gun laws. So I pitched that to him and I said, I will go to your area and do that if you come to my area. And I don't mean like, I'm going to set the guy up. I meant like at our local civic center, or maybe the VFW hall or something like that here in Lake Charles, Louisiana. So I'd go to his side of the state in front of his people, and he comes to my side of the state in front of my people. I even told him I would have the sheriff's department there, and I would provide him bodyguard security, as many as you want, to make sure, because I know he was going to be intimidated coming into a group of pro-Second Amendment people. So I said, I will escort you into the facility with armed people and put a man on each side of you. I'll have a man at the door. I'll have plenty of people there. I'll take care of the security. They will not be people I know. They will be armed, on the payroll, sheriff's department security. Offered all that up. The man will not call me back. So he's going to put this up again. Again, this is the guy who sees himself as a future baller at the federal level. I know he does, because that's the only reason why he's pushing this. So he sees this as a stepping stone. He's willing to compromise and take a dump on the people of Louisiana by putting forth a law that he feels like will give him a big name out in the anti-gun community federally. So I know he's going to do it again this year. So I've already contacted his office. I've already told them who I am. I've already sent them another email. These people will not call me back. That's what we deal with, guys. That's what we deal with. When people call me, believe me, anti-gun people call me all the time. Anytime there's a mass shooting, a mass killing of some sort, major gun legislation or something like that that's getting pushed through, I say every time, not every time, but many times, I get these phone calls. For some reason, I'm in the Rolodex of people like Time Magazine, NPR, ABC, CBS, who else? I forget the other organizations. There's a couple of organizations that will call me, and they see me as a, quote, gun expert. I'm obviously no expert, but I'm willing to talk about policy. A lot of pro-gun people, they won't acknowledge the liberal media when the liberal media reaches out to them. I may not be the most well-spoken person in the world, but I'm totally confident in my subject matter and my content of what I want to talk about, and I'm totally comfortable talking to anybody about it because I truly believe in these things. It's not an act. It's not something that I have to always research, because I've been down this road before, and I'm happy to talk about these things. So anytime these crazy anti-gun wacko liberal organizations contact me, I'm happy to talk to them. I'm happy to give my side. You know why? Because my side is the right side. It's the right thing to do. It's the constitutional side. whenever I reach out to somebody like Gary Carter's office, they know. That's what tells me that they know that their way of thinking is wrong. It's un-American, it's unconstitutional, because they can't be passionate and stand firm behind their own ideals and the bills that they're putting forward. They can't do that. You know why? Because they're not emotionally invested into these things. Because they know deep down inside that my argument will beat theirs all day long because mine is constitutional. Whenever I try to put my argument against yours and yours is constitutional, you can't make it seem constitutional or even closely as much as mine is constitutional. You can't lie about that. You can try, but you still can't make it equal or trump what mine is. Because mine truly is, my whole viewpoint bases itself on the Constitution and then goes from theirs. You can't link their ideas to the Constitution. There's no way you're going to tell me that you can link a red flag gun law to any part of the Constitution, because it violates so many amendments in the Constitution that you got nothing to stand on. Nothing. You're violating a minimum of 4 constitutional amendments with a red flag gun law. 4, not just the Second Amendment, the 4th. The 2nd, the 4th, the 5th, the 10th. I forget. I think there's another one even. The 14th. Is it the 14th? I'll find out and I'll put it forth. I mean, obviously I don't have a Constitution in front of me. But I mean, these guys got no legs to stand on. So let me tell you, when somebody refuses to take your phone call, this is a phone call. I'm not telling him to meet me at the local VFW or somewhere where I got a bunch of people there that he's going to get, attacked and that he's going to be outnumbered and all that. It's a freaking phone call, or better yet, an email. He doesn't even have to hear the sound of my voice. Just respond to my email. He won't do that. That is a coward. That is a coward. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. At some point, and I'm not going to tell you how because I don't want to get into Gary Carter. At some point this year, Gary Carter will see me in person. At some point, Gary Carter is going to have to explain to me now. I mean, he may run from me, but at some point this year, in 2020, Gary Carter will see me face to face, and he is going to have to explain to me, either to my face or while he's running away, or completely ignore me, but he's going to see me and have to talk to me and explain to me why red flag gun laws are somehow a good idea. You know, honestly, and I mean this as sure as I'm sitting here, if the man would be a man and not such a child and not run from me, I've not done anything disrespectful to him. I've not disrespected him in any kind of way that he didn't already have coming, as far as calling him out on his anti-constitutional, un-American views. I would be a very professional meeting with the guy, whether it's in his backyard or mine, again, because I have the Constitution on my side. I have the right answers on my side. I've got the American people on my side. So I don't have to be belligerent. I don't have to be loud and boastful. And I don't have to raise my voice. I don't have to put my finger in his face. You know why? Because I've got the last laugh every single time I open my mouth. Because my way is the right way. And that's the thing that they fear more than anything. If you notice, there are very few of town hall type settings like what I'm describing, where you will have an anti-gun person who will engage a pro-Second Amendment person. If you'll remember, after the Parkland shootings, when that kid murdered all those people, the 17 people in Parkland, Florida, if you guys will remember, the little mouthy kid that dropped out of school, and I think CNN had the town hall, and they brought Dana Lash on there. That's when Dana Lash was still with the NRA and whatnot. If you'll remember, they had a town hall, and Dana was roasting them with facts. Now, Dana's not a friend. I'm not a fan of Dana or anything. I just know who she is. She was dropping facts on them at every turn. Every time they asked her a question, she came back with a legitimate response that centered around the Constitution and what your rights are, whether you like guns or not. She was defending your rights, even as an un-American person. She said everything right, and they got mad. They raised their voices. They yelled at her. They put their fingers in her face. They called her names. They chanted things from the audience, hateful stuff, all that stuff. You know why? Because they couldn't defend their position. Their position was total bunk. They had nothing, nothing. She had them on everything, and they could not defend their un-American, anti-constitutional position, so they got belligerent, and they got ugly, they got nasty. That's the one and only time I have ever seen a town hall setting where anyone from the pro-gun community was given a voice to talk to anybody. They did it one time, and they did it thinking they had her, and they by far had her outnumbered. They brought her into a very, very bad environment. I mean, obviously, the deck was totally stacked against her, 100% stacked against her. The entire crowd was handpicked to be anti-gun. And, of course, everybody else besides Dana was anti-gun also. And she still whipped their butts. So they've learned their lesson. That's why I don't think Gary will take me up on this. But I would love I would take it as a personal challenge if someone would take me up on that. I would love to talk to somebody, because I almost want to hear it from someone who truly believes their way is the right way if they are anti-gun. Because I believe this. This is why I think anti-gun people are irrational and liars and snakes. Because if you talk to an honest person, a good person, a rational person, I don't care what political party they belong to. I don't care who they vote for. I don't care if they are a full-blown Hillary Clinton supporter, which there's got to be something wrong with you if you are. But let's say that you are. If you are a Hillary Clinton supporter, however, you are a rational person, a good person, you're willing to listen to reason, I can change your mind and make you believe in the Second Amendment. Because there's nothing at all irrational about the Second Amendment. There's nothing irrational about a person having the God-given right to possess, own, purchase firearms and defend themselves and their family. In fact, quite the opposite. It's your responsibility as a person, as a grown-up, as an adult, as a parent, to protect your family. That's your job. And I truly believe that anyone who truly is a good person at heart has a fair and open mind that they could be a Second Amendment supporter. That's why I truly in my heart believe that anyone who is anti-gun is a snake, is greedy, because they do it for the money. Even if they understand that it's wrong to support anti-gun movements, they do it for the money. They do it for the fame. They do it for the power that they get with somebody like Bloomberg, making them feel like they're special when he's just using them as pawns to fight his fight for them because he's not capable of doing it on his own. So I truly have extremely low opinions of people who fight on that anti-gun side if they truly feel like their argument is right, because they know deep down inside that it's not. Either there's something wrong with their brain and they're not right up here, or they know what they're doing and what they're saying and what they're fighting for is wrong, and they're a bad person for it. They're willing to compromise their own values for the sake of power, greed, or whatever. And I honestly feel that in my heart, guys. I don't think that everything that Republicans, this is not a Republican versus Democrat thing, because I despise people like Marco Rubio, who also are for red flag gun laws. So this is not a Democrat versus Republican thing by any stretch. What it is, it's a constitutional thing. And I truly believe that the people who are pushing the anti-gun movement are not good people. I think there inherently is something wrong with them. Again, it's either greed or they're not right upstairs. That's just my opinion. And that's why I feel so confident and I'm so willing to talk to them. Because if you can speak to somebody, and a lot of people, especially in America these days, are extremely lazy, especially with social media and whatnot. we've gotten accustomed to people spoon feeding us with a little bit of news. I mean, I know people who get their news by scrolling through their Facebook feed and not even reading the stories, reading the headlines, and that's how they figure out, oh, this happened today, oh, that happened today, and they sit there and they scroll through it. That's how they consume their news. A lot of people do that. I'm guilty of looking, scrolling through and looking at headlines, but at least I'll take the time to go read the actual stories and see if it's BS or not. I always consider the source first, where it's coming from too. So I feel like so many people have gotten complacent in how they approach things in life that um, if you can slow down long enough to really read and see what's going on and uh, read some of these bills, for instance, what's really in them, I think it would open up a lot of eyes. It's like I read an article earlier today that it was about red flag gun laws. And what the article was, it was written from an anti-gun standpoint. And everything seems to be about tricking the reader these days. The way they word things, it's like they use enough of the truth for it not to be a complete lie, but they misword things to try to hoodwink you into thinking that their way is naturally the right way. And they call these bills extreme risk protection orders because they're saying that we are protecting you against extreme risk. Well, the word risk alone means something hasn't happened yet. If I get arrested and I get a really heavy bond because I'm a flight risk, it's because I might leave. I haven't left yet. I haven't left the country. But I'm at risk of leaving, which means I haven't left. I haven't gone anywhere, but they think I might possibly could leave. That's the exact same wording. When we say extreme risk protection order, we say it fast. And it sounds like, wow, that's something we can get behind. We should want to prevent extreme risk. I don't want anyone, Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, I don't want anybody locking anybody up who has not committed a crime. I don't care what you think of these people and how wacko they are. Half the people in Washington, D.C. should be locked up for the things that they could possibly do, not to mention the things they have done and had a hand in but covered it up. But I don't sit here and propose that we go lock them up. Yet they're trying to get you and I turn us against each other and pass these laws to where I will call when you offend me and you make me mad anywhere, on the street, anywhere. Suddenly I have the power now to contact somebody and get your guns taken from you. Look, they don't care about you and they don't care about me. You know what they care about? We took guns off the street. Took guns off the street. Not one of my guns is on the street. My guns are up here. They're locked up. They're very, very safe. Very, very safe. My gun's on the street. But somebody kicks my door in for an extreme risk protection order and they come clean all four of these walls off. Guess what the headlines will read? Hundreds of guns taken off the street from local Louisiana man. That's what the headlines will read. Not one of my guns is on the street. But that's what your headlines will read. Because they're going to twist it and turn it and make it look like somehow or another, because I had more than one gun, I must have been a bad person. It's sad that we're in this age right now that so many things that I'm a very glass half full kind of person, but I am such a pessimist when it comes to events like that and news stories and wordings, how bills are worded, how headlines are worded, depending on who writes it and what point of view it is. You know, we don't get news given to us anymore. Everything we get is a freaking opinion piece. Everything is. It's like we're not allowed to make up our own minds anymore. You know, it's so frustrating when you read something that you've got to figure out, you've got to read between the lines and figure out what the real story is so you can develop your own opinion of what you're reading. Because somebody else is always spoon feeding their opinion to you. And it's pathetic. I remember the day when we had 3 stations on television Chunk, chunk, chunk. That's how we changed the channel on TV. And those guys, I think for the most part, read the news. Even the wacko Dan Rathers and Tom Brokaws. Back in the day, those guys were given the news. This is what happened today, and they read it. They read what happened. They didn't say what their thoughts were. They didn't give you their opinion about what it was. They just read the freaking news. Let me make my mind up. You know what there was less of back then? Mass killings. There was less mass killings, less people getting mad at each other. People got along so much better. There was less child molesting, raping, and all kinds of other stuff like that. You know what? Maybe if we were left alone and allowed to make up our own minds, maybe society wouldn't be so crappy after all. Maybe if you people, and I don't mean you obviously watching this, but maybe if the media didn't twist things and tell us how to think, maybe we'd be a hell of a lot better off. Instead of having somebody giving us their opinion and their ideas of how I need to think about a particular story, let me make up my own mind. I guarantee you there weren't as many murders in Chicago back in 1985. I can promise you that. Go back and look. There's no way. No way. It wouldn't be anybody left in Chicago if they'd been killing people at that rate all this time. Let's see, guys. I'm going to, let's go look at some of your comments, questions, or whatever before I duck out of here. And I appreciate you guys being on here tonight, too, by the way. Again, as I always say, I appreciate you guys spending your Fridays with me. We do have some neat stuff coming up on a lot of our videos. I will say this. We've got a neat project coming up with X Products. I can't really talk about the project a whole lot because all the real important things aren't in place yet. But I can tell you it will be like a tour that will go to different parts of the country. And I'm going to be directly involved in a lot of it. And I actually will be making a lot of trips to some of these locations, not all of them. But some of the bigger events that we have, I'm going to fly out to those and travel to those. So hopefully those of you guys that are spread out throughout the country, I'm going to have an opportunity to meet some of you guys at some of these locations. It's going to be some pretty cool stuff. We'll probably kick things off beginning of the summer, probably May, June, something like that. And this will last for 12 months. So we'll be all throughout. I mean, we're talking coast to coast. Everywhere. So there's going to be some really, really neat stuff that we're going to be doing. I'm hoping that within the next few weeks I can share a little bit more of that with you guys. But I got to tell you, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to be able to get out there and meet more people. And just some of the stuff we're going to be doing is going to be really, really cool. So that's really all that I can tell you. I apologize for being so cryptic and not being able to share much information about it. But when I explain it to you, you'll understand more of it. It is election year too, so I mean, there's a lot going on this year. It's so funny. I got to tell you, I watched the whole debate the other night, the Democrat debate. You know, there's not one of them on stage up there that I have any use for, but oh my goodness, it was so funny to see Michael Bloomberg have his ass handed to him by everybody on that stage, and there's not a thing he could do about it. The guy he's nothing. He's an empty suit. The way he handled himself, I don't know how he became a billionaire, because he just seems like a worm. He's spineless. The guy is nothing. I mean, if that was my boss, I couldn't work for a guy like that. I mean, show a little bit of backbone. Such a worm. Oh my God. And look, just on that note, you know, what he spent up there, I want to say he spent around $2 million in the state of Virginia to try to get more anti-gun politicians elected and try to get all of these anti-gun bills pushed through. And of course, a lot of that's falling on its face now. Do you guys know that a memo leaked just the other day? Yesterday, I believe. And he has funneled about $5 million to Texas. So if any of you guys are in Texas, we're right next door. expect to see a pretty hard push, a pretty hard anti-gun push, and definitely at that state level. If you guys haven't noticed, obviously the push at the federal level for anti-gun, anti-constitutional rights, that kind of push has gone away. They've stopped pushing it in D.C., and now they've pushed it down to the state level, and that's what they're focusing on. They feel like death by 1,000 cuts is essentially how they feel like they can win and get a lot of these anti-gun laws pushed by pushing that down to that state level. So a lot of that money, you're seeing states all over the country, Oregon, Arizona of all places, of course, Virginia, Louisiana has some bills that are going to be coming up, Texas, Mississippi, Arkansas has one. I saw one, where was another one at just the other day? Was it Utah? I'm not sure where it was, but you're seeing a plethora of these. It's either red flag gun laws, it's, quote, assault weapons bans, or universal background checks, essentially outlawing private gun sales. Those are the things that are being pushed really heavily. And most of that is being funded by Bloomberg money. So anyone out there that might have had the inkling of voting for that man, don't be fooled by anything. The guy's a snake, and the guy he's probably public enemy number one when it comes to the Second Amendment. So anything you see with his name on it, vote against it and push against it, because the guy's nothing but trouble. And he's a liar. I mean, you sat there and watched him lie. It sounds like he's a real scumbag, you know. So anyway, I want to make sure that we're aware that Bloomberg is he's not content with the anti-gun stuff that he's been doing. He's pushing for even more. I will tell you this, that I'm sure I'll really piss them off. But one of my new shirts, if you go to ballisticink.com, again, ballisticink.com, if you go out there, you'll see, you'll see my logo somewhere on there with a profile of me shooting a gun. Click on that and you'll see this. This is one of my hoodies that's on there. All the designs that are under my stuff are my designs. This one says, if you can't read it, gun-free zone, please shoot me last. I actually have some pretty cool shirts out there at ballisticink.com. So if you go out there, you can see some pretty neat stuff. I'm trying to think what is Bloomberg's organization that I stole their logo to try to piss them off? Moms Demand Action. It says Moms Demand Action, and below that it says for real gun control or something like that. I forget what their little slogan is. But I came up with, let me see if I can find it. I came up with my own version of their little slogan. And here it is. Where's my shirt at? There it is. Let me go to it. And of course, they're the ones that have the red shirt with the Moms Demand Action on it. So I decided to make my own shirt. Let's see if you can see this. That says Moms Demand Double Action. And I put a gun on there. So I'll be having one of these come in any day now that I ordered. And this is my shirt. It says, and legally armed America below it. But that's the same shirt they wear in red, the same font and everything, and where they say Moms Demand Action, and I just say Moms Demand Double Action. And I have a CZ75 on there, by the way, a double action gun. So anyway, that's I like doing stuff like that. I like putting my finger in the face of these anti-gun people. And I'll probably get a letter from them telling me to cease and desist, that I stole their copyrighted material, whatever. I'll take the shirt down whenever they do, and I'll sell as many of them as I can before then. But I want to get them out there and really aggravate those people because they deserve it. Let's see. I'm looking at you guys' comments and whatnot. Let's see. Oh, yeah. How about the coronavirus? Wow. Wow. That's a whole different story right there. Interesting how, remember how all the protests and whatnot, the hundreds of thousands of people on the streets of Hong Kong a month ago. Now we've got the coronavirus and there's not a soul walking the street. That's one way to get rid of the of your own citizens from protesting the tyranny of your government. Let's see. I'm just reading through y'all's comments, guys. I know that seems kind of rude sometimes, but a lot of times I don't get a chance to read y'all's comments later on, so I enjoy doing it. And I've only got 3% battery life on this thing. Well, what I'm going to do, guys, I do need to shut it down because I got to get downstairs and I got to go bathe my little boy. Guys, hopefully you'll have a good weekend. I hope you guys get to make it out to the range. I know I am tomorrow. Tomorrow we're supposed to have good weather down here in Louisiana. We've had some quite a bit of rain in the last couple of weeks, and hopefully tomorrow we have a good day. I don't know if Brent's on here, but I know Brent and the guys at the competition over there at the SAS Club in Lake Charles, I think tomorrow is one of their competition events. So I may try to trickle out there and catch up with some of the guys. There's some really good shooters out there, so I may go run by there a little bit tomorrow. But hopefully you guys have a chance to get out to the range this weekend. I am going to try, of course, get back into the rhythm and the routine of having my Friday night live discussions with you guys. We want to try to, build up more and more people to come on here. We'll say this, and you guys that are watching, if you don't already subscribe, please subscribe to Legally Armed America right here on YouTube, and ask your friends and family to, because we are right at 180,000 subscribers. I'd really like to get over that 200,000. I need 20,000 more subscribers. That's not a lot when you consider we're at 180,000 already. I want to say we were at probably, 150,000. We've gotten almost 30,000 in like the last 2 months, something like that. So I think it's relatively easy if you guys would give me the help and, of course, honor me in doing that. But ask your friends and family members who might be pro Second Amendment to also go out to Legally Armed America and subscribe. I really want to get over that 200,000 mark. I think that's gonna be pretty cool if I can get over that. And oddly enough, I was using this to prop up my camera earlier today. I don't know if they'll send me another one. Let me get the dust off of it, but that's my 100,000 YouTube plaque that they sent me. I honestly use it. This is going to show you how much I think of YouTube. I use it and pieces of wood in here to stack up and put my camera on top of whenever I need to tilt it a little bit to get it in the right position. So it gives you an idea. I mean, while it's an honor from you guys to subscribe to me, but when YouTube sends me stuff, it doesn't mean anything to me, because I know somebody, the only reason why I even requested them send that is because I know somebody who was a Google employee was pissed off the day that they had to do that. Because when they print these things, that they are going and looking at the website or the YouTube page to see who it is, the YouTube channel, out of curiosity. Well, if this person's got this many people following them, they must be doing something right. So let me go check it out and see who it is. And they go to my channel and see that it's a pro Second Amendment guy. It pissed them off whenever they had to make that. So that's the only reason why I did it, because I was like, I'm going to make one of these Google jerks go out there in Silicon Valley out in California and have to make my plaque and pay the postage to send it over to me. So I get the enjoyment out of that. But the real enjoyment is you guys coming on here with me and, of course, following me, commenting. And look, it's another thing, if any of the videos I put out, comment, negative, positive, it doesn't matter. I do respect a lot of the opinions on there, unless somebody's being belligerent or a real jerk. I'm pretty polite, when people tell me that I'm wrong or whatnot, unless they're being a jerk about it. I usually thank them for their opinions, because I do appreciate the feedback, the likes, the feedback, and all that kind of stuff. That's all good. I take all that stuff in when people, give me that type of feedback. I use that to try to develop better videos as I go on. This weekend, I've got some, I think one of my videos that I'm going to put out is going to be one about, of course, obviously, Danny McCormack. We just talked about the constitutional carry here in the state of Louisiana, but also I've got one from Next Belt. They make some really cool, like kind of the click belts that you put together, and then you go to pull, and they stop pulling, and you have to pull the lever up. I've been wearing one of their belts for a couple of years, and I just got a new one that they sent me. And just this past week, they sent me in another new one, and this one's really cool. I'll tell you what it is real quick without going into detail. But what the buckle part of it is, you hit two buttons on the top and the bottom. When you press those buttons in the front of it, it spits out a handcuff key, a key to undo handcuffs. That was pretty interesting to me. That's mostly for law enforcement, of course. But I feel like, you know what? If you're one of these guys that are maybe a contract worker or something like that overseas or whatnot, I mean, handcuff keys are universal. It's not like it's a special key like a door lock or something like that. They all do the same thing. That's why they're so easy to pick. It's just a matter of turning that little knob at the bottom and it lowers the teeth on your handcuffs. So anyway, that's going to be a cool review. I hope to have that out this weekend. Neat belt. They're great belts to begin with. I just think it's cool that they were able to incorporate the handcuff key in the actual belt itself. Pretty neat thing. Those guys have some neat stuff. They've also developed a buckle that's really narrow in case you appendix carry. It doesn't make that buckle so big in the front where you have to shove it off to one side. You can actually keep it in the center and still appendix carry if you so choose. I'm not a big fan of appendix carry just because I don't like pointing my muzzle at my junk, but yeah, I'm lucky so far. I'm still thin enough to be able to carry on my side and doesn't add to any discomfort or anything like that. But anyway, that's some videos that I hope to get out this weekend. I've got several of them that I'd like to get out. I'm not sure how many of them I'm going to get out, but hopefully I'll get those out. And again, you guys comment, like, dislike, but any feedback you can offer is always good for me, and I always appreciate that. It means a lot that you guys are watching my stuff. So I owe it to you to at least respond whenever I can. I try to respond to as many of the comments as I can, especially if they're directed at me specifically. Sometimes it's just a comment on it, and I don't think people are looking for a response from it. But if you're seeking a response, I'm pretty good about trying to respond. Because again, I feel like if you're willing to take the time to send something, look at one of my videos and send me a comment, I owe it to you to try to respond. So again, I appreciate that, guys. Guys, I'm going to check on out of here, go downstairs, bathe my kid, and do some reading and whatnot, and try to get ready for some other videos that I can film this weekend. Guys, have a great weekend. I hope to see you soon. As I try to say on a lot of my videos, guys, never be afraid to be the safest person in the room and the deadliest. We'll see you guys next week.